broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in episode 3 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom, and I'm here with Trevor and Damon, as always. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. There's a ton of news going on in the Disney universe right now, like so much that all of us were kind of itching over the past 2 weeks to do another podcast because there's just so much to talk about, so many things going on, so many rumors popping up. It seems like every day there's something new that's being reported. The biggest news the past couple weeks has to be about Star Wars Land. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff coming out. Disney's directly commented on a few things regarding Star Wars and the new land, and a couple of rumors came out. But before we get into all the Star Wars stuff, we promised on last week's podcast we were going to talk a little bit about dining and some of the different dining things that we do as Disney Parks people and as DVC members. So Trevor's going to talk a little bit of just kind of about meal plans, about dining, all the different things that are going on with dining at Disney.
Yes. So thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay, dining. Yes. I see so many questions about dining all the time. Like it's probably the biggest thing that people think about next to actually getting to the resort. So I figured it was good to cover it here. So let's get the first thing out of the way there right away. The dining plan there is no discounts through DVC. So as a DVC member, unless you want the dining plan just for the sake of having the dining plan, you're not getting anything by staying on points and signing up for the dining plan. But that said, and that out of the way, there are a bunch of other options for dining out there. So we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so first of all, with the dining plan, as it stands right now, there's 3 different levels of dining plan out there. Now, have either of you guys used the dining plan in the past?
So I actually refused to use the dining plan, but here's the thing.
It's not that he just hasn't done it. He just refuses.
but here's the thing. I kind of got hosed last time because what happened is that the people that we go with every year, they did the dining plan and they booked like 4 character things. So normally what I would do is, again, I'm the guy that eats breakfast in the room, right? So I take breakfast off the table. And then normally we'll have either a big, I don't want to call it expensive, but like either a big lunch or a big dinner, right? We usually do one or the other. But what happened is that they decided to book all these events. So because they did that, what ended up happening for me is that every time they went to something large, like Be Our Guest or I'm out $400 and something because I have 5 people in my family. So actually, I think what we're going to do next time is we're going to have to visit the meal plan, and not because I want to, because of the way that the other people we travel with dine and, all those character breakfasts. I think, again, personal opinion, if you're not going to all the specialty places, I think it's a little cheaper to stay off the dining plan. But if you are, then I see where I got burned last time.
And you're absolutely right, Damon. This is really where I think it makes the most sense, is that when you're signing up for the dining plan, like with us, we kind of did the same thing where we were looking at the dining plan and we initially were going to do a whole bunch of table service stuff. But when we sat down, we thought about it. The part of the dining plan is that you have to be willing to eat the way that they want you to eat, which is every meal you're sitting down, you're having a big meal, you're having a dessert, which sounds good on paper, but I think after a couple of days of that...
the way they want you to eat is gluttonous, is what it is.
Yeah, but again, you have to really look at how your family wants to do it before you say, yeah, we're going to use the dining plan. Because, and again, you always hear all these things about, people end up using it, and then at the end of the plan, they've got like 50 snack credits, and they're buying Rice Krispie treats at the gift shop.
So I just want to say something, because I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I only found out about this recently. Do you know that there's an actual Facebook page that allows you to play it forward, and anything you have left over, leave for other DVC members?
Really? I did not know that was a thing.
It's actually pretty neat. I saw it on Facebook and was like, wow, I've never heard of this before. But we drive. So one of the things that we do is, what's the most expensive thing at Disney? I think it's water, right? Like at the end of the day, it's water. So we bring 3 cases of water with us. So if we didn't use them all, what you do is you leave them for the next DVC member. It's a very interesting way to kind of play it forward for DVC people. And again, since we drive, we may be in a little bit of a different scenario than, at least Trevor at this point.
Or any folks that really fly in general, or I totally understand that, because we kind of do the same thing. We do Gatorade just because we usually go in the steaming hot summer, so we usually bring some Gatorades with us that we put in the fridge. But I just wanted to tell really quickly. So my wife and I always did the dining plan. Before we became DVC members, we always did the dining plan, and then our first trip as DVC members, we went with other people, and it's funny that Damon brought up that situation, because since we were going with other people, we decided not to do the dining plan on that trip, because we didn't want to force the people that we were with into meals that they didn't want to go to, or they felt like they were going to have to go to, because they felt like they were going to have to be on the dining plan to take part in it. And so what actually that trip let us do is I went through the bill at the end of the trip, and I added up all of the money we spent on our food. And I told my wife, eat like you normally eat, eat whatever you want. We're going to get snacks out. We're not even going to limit it. We just to make sure that the sample is correct, that we're not just eating less just to see. And I calculated it out, and we actually spent less money than we did on the dining plan. Now, that's not going to be true for everybody, right? So, because families are different than 2 people, and some families eat more. Part of the reason why we didn't want to do it is because every time we did those, my wife is not a big dessert person, and you get so much food with the dining plan. By the time we got to dessert, she'd be like, "Oh no!" So it was almost like we were wasting our money on that.
We saved about $800 prior to this last trip, right? The trip where we kind of got hosed a little bit, right? We saved about $800 by not doing the dining plan. And that's even with adding up the things that we bought and took with us. So again, we have a big car, we have 5 of us, so we just pack. We actually have 2 containers specifically for food, and we fill them up and take them. So I did look online. I want to make sure that I kind of give out a plug to this group. So it's the DVC Leftovers group. And again, if you're there and you have extra stuff, that's the group that you want to join if you want to leave other DVC member stuff. So I just wanted to plug them.
And that's absolutely a great idea. I know, so for myself, and actually kind of getting... So moving away from the dining plan, because we know that, the dining plan is really more of a convenience than a cost savings thing. There are, of course, lots of other options on how to do Disney, and how to do Disney not on a budget necessarily, but to save yourself money and still be able to enjoy yourself. Like you guys have said, there are grocery services out there. So the big one that I think everybody talks about is Garden Grocer. I don't know if you guys have ever used it. I'm actually planning to use it on my next trip down there.
I have not used it, but I have heard good things, right? And that's one of the ones where you don't get that $5 charge, right?
So you do. Well, you have to do a minimum $50 order, and then it's $14 delivery.
Okay,
but they don't charge the resort delivery fee, because they bring it to concierge, as opposed to So I've used before. We used Amazon Prime. I think it's called Pantry, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we used that one time, and we were charged a fee for that. And I have to say, it was not convenient for one reason and one reason only, and it's because we were staying at Bay Lake Tower, and they don't take packages at Bay Lake Tower. They take them at the Contemporary, so we had to walk over to the Contemporary and carry a big box over to our room, which was, I know that sounds like a play, and it was, my wife actually ended up doing it. We separated at one point, and she went and got the box and brought it up, and I was like, you carried that thing over by yourself. I felt so bad. But Amazon's a good option if they'll deliver it right there, but be aware that all of the resorts do charge a package fee now.
It's $5, right? And that started in December.
Mm-hmm. Per package.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, again, keep that in mind. But still, ordering that food, like if you're there for a longer period of time, using one of their grocery services. So like I said, Garden Grocer is a fairly popular one. Another one that I've heard that's actually owned by DVC members is Dizzy Dolphin, I believe is the name of it.
I've never heard of that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of that one either.
That's another one that any DVC members might want to look up, because they are DVC owners, and they kind of understand our needs as DVC members. So there's a couple of options too, which you can do, like you've said, Damon, you do the eat breakfast in your room kind
Correct.
of stuff. You can have all that brought to your room. And like for me, as someone who has to get on a plane and fly down there, yeah, these kind of things are great just because of the fact that I don't have anywhere to store like a week's worth of produce or anything like that.
Oh,
right?
we don't eat that healthy. We're talking boxes of cereal at this point, right?
Pop-Tarts.
We make Pop-Tarts, cereal, and water. Those are the three things.
I should say, I guess I don't mean produce. I mean bananas and muffins. So.
Okay, there we go.
That's still eating healthier than I do. I'm talking about s'mores Pop-Tarts on the bus.
Exactly.
With a Gatorade chaser.
Well, okay, to be fair, I am staying at the Poly, so I'm probably going to end up vetoing my muffin and going and getting Tonga toast anyway, so...
I see. I don't even know what that is. I've stayed at the Poly and didn't know. What is Tonga toast?
It's like a French toast.
French toast.
Okay.
A French toast with
So I missed out on
bananas
something,
in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gearing for that when I get down there. So
Gotcha.
You know, the last time I was there, I'd never had Tonga toast, and we were gonna go on our last morning, and we decided to drink Around the World the night before, and that just went out straight out the window. We completely even forgot that we were gonna do that.
Well, since both of you guys are going before me, I'll put this out to you: is both of you got to try and get some Tonga toast while you're down there, because
I'm gonna make it happen this time.
It looks delicious, and I'm really excited to try that.
So the interesting thing that we almost have done like 3 times is this Tables in Wonderland. So I don't think I know enough about it, and I think that's what it was, because every time again that we go, I go with friends that are always on the dining plan, and they keep telling me, "Why aren't you doing Tables in Wonderland?" I don't know, Trevor. Why am I not doing that?
So here's the thing. There's 3 different things that can get you a discount in Disney World. So depending on where you're eating it, and to be fair, Disney has made this very confusing, and I don't know why, but if you look at your DVC membership, right now we've got, as DVC members, certain places offer you a 10% discount. If you happen to get an annual pass gives certain places a 10% discount and other places a 20% discount. So that further confuses things. And then on top of that, you got Tables in Wonderland. Tables in Wonderland it's a separate card that you pay for. It's about $150 to pay for it, but it gives you 20% off at pretty much everywhere that's a table service. So the thing about Tables in Wonderland is that, again, kind of similar to the dining plan, this is very specific to your eating habits. If you find that you're doing a lot of quick service and stuff like that, Tables in Wonderland is probably not going to be the best value for you, and you'll probably be better off just using your DVC discount wherever you can. But if you're planning to do a lot of those character breakfasts, sit downs, whatever, and on top of that, if you like your alcohol, which we know Tom does.
Oh, that's so not fair. I did it one time, Trevor. Drank everywhere one time.
So yeah, if you like your alcohol, Tables in Wonderland is the only discount that actually discounts your alcohol as well. None of the other discounts do that. It's not even the dining plan. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And like I said, all of this comes down to how you and your group travel together. So in your case, Damon, I don't know if Tables in Wonderland would actually be a good fit for you, because you said you're going with a family of 5, right?
So yeah, we go with a family of 5, and then we're always like 90% of our trips are with another family of 3 that always does the dining plan.
Right. And so are they, I assume then, like, basically half of their meals are table service meals, right? So
I almost think like last time it was even more than that, honestly, because, and again, Trevor, this is perfect because since you're this plethora of knowledge, right? So they would do character breakfasts and tell me something like they would use 2 points to do them. Like, so can you like save points and do more expensive places? Like, because that's what I kind of understood. But again, since I'm not a dining plan person, I don't really care that much.
Yeah. So, so I guess looping back to the dining plan, there's 3 different tiers of the dining plan. There's the quick service one, which is just straight quick service, nothing else. There's the standard one, which is you get 1 quick service a day and one quick service per day and one oh my God.
One table service. Yeah.
Yes. 1 quick service, 1 table service.
Okay.
And then the deluxe one, which is just table service. So it's 2 table service per day. That doesn't mean that you have to use your credits every day. So this is where people are talking about like things like Hoop-de-Doo Review and Cinderella's Royal Table. They take 2 credits on the dining plan.
And see, I think that's what they were doing. And again, this is how, I got hosed really bad because they would save these. And they were, again, because the way that they did their service, they would use these double, right? They would double up to take us, somewhere super fancy character breakfast, and then I'm out $300.
Well, and
$375 one time too.
And that's the thing. You get all your dining credits up front. So if you're there, and it's by night. So if you have just the regular dining plan, which gives you, one table service meal and one quick service meal, right? And you get one. So you get those all up front. So if you wanted to, blow them all in one day, you could if you wanted to. You literally could, yeah.
And I think that's what they were doing, is that they were like kind of saving some. So I think they were almost pulling the same game as us, where they would pay out of pocket for like a breakfast or a lunch or something, and then save these points up. And again, I didn't understand the system. All I knew is I was getting beat up at the end of the day. That's pretty much what I knew.
And yeah, that's exactly how some people do it. Is you either forego like you have meals back at your room if you can manage that, or you pay for a quick service or two out of your pocket, and then that allows you, where you would normally spend one table service in a day, you can stack two of them up and then use them at one of the nicer experiences.
And I think that's where, again, even going for tons of years at this point, I was just not well enough aware of how that worked. And it's my own fault for not looking into it, because, I was always going with somebody and thinking that I was saving money, which I was for the first couple of years until they, pulled this thing on me. And then all of a sudden I'm out there in the blue with, no money left over at the end of the vacation. But, definitely my own fault. But I think next time, because of that, I'm going to consider doing a dining plan and trying that out. I mean, my daughter's still 7, so we still do, some of the character things. And even if you don't have young kids, you're not doing the character stuff, there's some, fancy places that you want to go eat that are nice just for adults as well.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind, too, with the dining plan is that, so again, because I was looking into all this and I was trying to figure it out for myself, so particular things like, I use Hoop-de-Doo as the example because it's a dinner show and it's fairly expensive by itself, but they've got different tiers of seating inside of Hoop-de-Doo. So there's tier 1, which is basically like center of the room, like right in front of the stage kind of thing. Tier 2 is kind of to the sides and the back, and then tier 3 is the upper balcony. If you're on the dining plan, even if you use those 2 table service credits to do Hoop-de-Doo, they won't let you book anything higher than tier 2. So if you're looking for something specific, the dining plan may not be the best idea either. If you're just going to that and you're like, I don't care if they stick us off to the side by the kitchen or whatever, definitely go for it. But if you're expecting that they're going to put you front and center on the dining plan, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I can tell you where it really does, pay off too, is if you're going to a lot of really nice meals, or even if you're just going to a couple. Because we went to Narcoossee's one time. I was on our honeymoon actually, and my wife got surf and turf, which I believe at the time was $105 on the menu. And it was, it was included in our dining credits. But, the only thing you do really have to pay for is the gratuity. That is not included with the dining plan. It used to be way back when I first started going to Disney, gratuity was included in the dining plan, not anymore. So I always have to make that clear when I work with clients, like, dining plan's great, for your family, it's convenient, but don't forget the table service meals, gratuity is not included. So be sure to tip your waiters and waitresses.
And I guess that's the thing, too, is that a lot of people think that the dining plan is turning Disney into an all-inclusive thing, right? Where, you don't have to show up with any money. But like you said, Tom, it's true. Is any way you do it now, gratuity is expected on top of whatever you were supposed to pay or not supposed to pay for your meal. So even as it is you're not spending all the money on that particular meal, but you're still having to pay a bill at the end of the meal.
Exactly. Just a side note, too, that it's not included on the cruise either, as I keep forgetting, as I just finished paying off my cruise for October. And she's like, oh, by the way, you owe like $400 for gratuity. And I'm like, what? Like, I totally forgot about that. But at least you can pay that like 3 days before you go. I think you can actually even pay it while you're on the cruise, but it is not included as well.
So you're paying it ahead of time?
Yeah, that's actually what they would like you to do, is pay that ahead of time. And it's kind of nice because when you think about it, when you're getting on a cruise, you don't want to have any, what's the point of having money, right? Like, you're on a cruise, so.
And the cruise the dining is all inclusive, correct?
Correct, it is. I mean, obviously, unless you do an excursion or something like that. But, I'm cheap. I'm coming back to the boat for every meal. I don't care what's going on. I'm coming back to the boat.
It's funny you say that because I feel like that about Disney World now, where it's like I don't need any money. I got my Magic Band. I don't bring anything to the parks with me besides my Magic Band. I now even with my DVC card, I got the digital card. I took a picture of my driver's license on my phone. So the only thing I bring to the park is my phone. And I get my discounts through there. I got my Magic Band. It's kind of the same thing like you're saying on a cruise. You don't want to bring your money around. You just want to go and enjoy yourself and make it convenient. Of course, that's Disney's plan, so we spend more money, right? So
and I actually didn't even think about that, Tom. I'm probably going to do the same thing as you when I go down there, because I was originally thinking about, hauling around, make sure I've got all those different cards with me. But yeah, really, I guess as long as you've got it all on your phone, you don't even need to do that.
Now, you will get a cast member that will occasionally hassle you about not having the physical card, but I only had one or two, and for the most part, they relented. So,
for the DVC card, or for
having the DVC card, they wanted the physical card, which is funny because DVC just rolled out the digital cards like last year. You think they would be more willing? They didn't like the fact that my license was on my phone as opposed to physically having my license to check it. But most of them are cool about it. So
yeah, I guess to be fair, if you were a sneaky person, you could, do some forgery or something. I don't know.
I think the only time that we were really questioned on the actual cards as well was when we wanted to go to the lounge. Never anywhere else, but the lounge, they definitely questioned us.
Yeah, I only had one guy, fair. And that was literally it was a guy at the pin station that's over in Frontierland, and my wife was buying some pins, and then this guy was hassling us, and another cast member came over, and it's like, just give it to him. Like literally just so the other cast member knew they were being that person was being a pain, and they fixed it. But yeah, no, that's a really great convenience. I know we just went off dining a little bit, but doing that, like, I mean, it's so convenient now to pay for your meals and pay for I mean, literally, I have my Magic Band, I got my phone to take pictures and FastPass and all that fun stuff, and that's it. Everything else is on the Magic Band. Makes it easy.
Yep, it totally makes sense that way. So, I guess kind of going back to dining a little bit, but not dining discounts. Did you guys happen to see the announcement? I know we had talked about at Pandora, the Satuli Canteen is supposed to have the mobile ordering, but it sounds like they're actually going to start rolling that out to some of the other restaurants as well.
I am extremely psyched about this. As somebody who prefers, in any sort of customer service, situation to communicate through chat or through Twitter or through Facebook. The fact that I won't have to even talk to a human being to get my food is kind of great.
but here's the thing. So you go and order this food, but like how far in advance can you order it?
You can do it as you're walking in if you want to.
Yeah. So my understanding is the way it works is you go into the app, you place your order and everything, and then when you actually get to the location, they've got something location specific that when you get there, you have to hit a button saying I'm here, and then there's a bit of a delay where they prep the order right then and then bring it out.
Okay.
See, I kind of like that though, because it's made fresh, right? So it's not like they're making it ahead of time. You can just, once you get there, you press I'm here, they make it fresh, and it's at your I think this is great. See,
what I hope is all the people like Tom do that, and it just makes my line shorter, because I don't really care that much.
I think for me, as somebody who is a picky eater and feels very awkward when I'm talking to somebody and like, hey, can I get, the chicken sandwich, but take off the lettuce and tomato and add some cheese? Like for me, like not having to deal with that kind of social situation is going to be great, because I can just go on the app, I can order it, and then when I show up, it's going to be made for me and going to be ready. And Trevor, I actually have a list of all the rumored restaurants this is going to. I don't know if you saw that, but I'm happy to read those off if you haven't seen that one.
Well, the only one that I have a question about is, what I would consider one of my favorite restaurants is the one that's over in Animal Kingdom in
Flame
the Himalaya
Tree?
area.
Flame Tree Barbecue? No?
The one with the Chinese food.
Chinese
Gosh,
food.
What is the name of that place?
I should know
talking
this.
about
Yeah, Trevor.
What did he say?
He said, Trevor, how do you not know this place? I think it's a fast. It's not a table service. It's a fast.
Well, Flame Tree.
I'm gonna have to look it up as you guys talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Restaurant. It's not Restaurantosaurus, because Restaurantosaurus is kind of hot dogs, hamburgers.
Yeah,
it's right by as you're walking into Expedition, it's before Expedition Everest on the left-hand side, and you can actually sit down. It has a fountain in it.
Isn't that Yak and Yeti?
Yes, there we go.
Yes.
Okay, that's a sit down though, right?
Is that sit down?
Yeah,
they have an outside. They have an outside non-sit down portion of it though.
Yeah, I'm having dinner there this next trip actually.
Wait. I thought the Yak and Yeti was the non-sit down one, and there's another one that's sit down.
No, Flame Tree is the quick service.
Is that the
Yak and Yeti?
But is it the same quick service, same food?
I believe the two of them are tied together.
Okay,
that's a good question.
I'm gonna Google while you guys are talking here.
Yeah.
So where they're primarily bringing this out is to the quick service restaurants. So what's rumored is where they're going to be is ABC Commissary, Backlot Express, which are both in Hollywood Studios. Columbia Harbor House in Magic Kingdom, Cosmic Rays, Starlight Cafe, Deluxe Burger, which is over at Disney Springs, Electric Umbrella, Flame Tree Barbecue, Liberty Inn, Pecos Bill, Tall Tale Inn, Pinocchio, Village House, Pizzafari, Restaurantosaurus, the Satuli Canteen at Pandora, Tomorrowland Terrace, and Tortuga Tavern. So a lot of the very highly trafficked. I'm excited for that for Flame Tree Barbecue because I love that place and it always has a crazy long line. So it'll be kind of nice to be able to order that ahead of time and not have to deal with the line there.
I think it does both, actually. I think there's a sit-down and a non-sit-down for Yak and Yeti.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, I figured it out. So my confusion was, Flame Tree and Yak and Yeti are both the quick services. Yak and Yeti is tied to Tusker House.
Yes, there you go.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
And Tusker House is the sit-down.
All right, I was right. Yep. Wow, look at that. That's actually, so you talk about favorite places to eat. Yak and Yeti is like, there's no way we go to Disney and don't do Yak and Yeti.
Wow.
And I think a lot of that has to do more recently with the fact that there's just a lack of good Chinese food in North Carolina. I'm going to have to put it out there.
That's 100% true.
And coming from New Jersey, New York area where there's very good Asian food, when we go now, we're like, oh, wow, we're going to actually have good Asian food. Yes, Yak and Yeti, the best we've had in a year. That's kind of what we do. So I'd like to see that. But again, I've never really had a problem with service. Not that I felt like I've ever waited, honestly.
I haven't. They're very organized, especially at the quick service restaurants. They get you in and out of those things pretty quickly. But I actually think this brings up a quick, really good question. What are your can't miss restaurants when you go to Disney? What is the restaurant you have to go to when you go to Disney?
You just heard mine. That was it.
Yeah, I heard yours. For me, ours, and this is a recent one, is Via Napoli at Epcot. If you haven't been there, you need to go there.
That's the pizza place, right?
Yes, but they also have incredible Italian food outside of the pizza. The pizza's amazing, but if you get a risotto ball there, or they have risotto ball appetizers, we had lasagna there. They have the best sauce I've ever had in my entire life. I have no idea what they put in it, but it has to be some sort of drug that's banned in a whole bunch of countries because it's the greatest thing I've ever had.
Coming from New Jersey, we just don't do Italian anymore.
You got to do Via Napoli, man. I'm telling, it's so good.
Okay, because again, it's one of those things where once we moved and we're in North Carolina, the Italian food again is not like it is in New Jersey.
Sure.
So I'd be willing to try it there because maybe it's at the same level that I was used to previously.
They make the pizzas right there. I've heard that they ship in water from Italy to make the pizza dough. The pizza's amazing, and the atmosphere is really great too. The Italian people that actually work there, since it is Epcot, it's all Italian folks working there. They're super nice, very energetic, really just cool people. And honestly, we eat there every time we go, and we've never had a bad meal. It has always been fantastic. We just can't recommend it enough.
Well, that's what I'm going to put on my list then.
Nice.
That's on my list now. And Trevor, what about you?
Well, I can't really speak for Disney World at this point. Actually, sorry, that's not true. The last time I was in Disney World, I really enjoyed Pecos Bills. Although I know that the menu's probably changed a lot, but kind of in that same vein, I think my favorite place of all of Disney, like Disneyland and Disney World, is the Blue Bayou. And yeah, that's... it's in terms of experience and food and everything. It's my absolute favorite place to go.
Okay. I'll have to check that out when I finally go to Disneyland someday.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ever going to go to Disneyland, to be honest with you. I'm not knocking at Trevor, but I just don't have any. There's nothing that's like, wow, I really should go to Disneyland. There's nothing yet that makes me feel like I really need to go there. Maybe that will change.
That's a topic for another podcast.
That's a whole podcast. That's a whole podcast. Yeah, I give you that. So I guess that this is the next thing that, I mean, Trevor, are you done with dining? Are we out of dining?
Well, I guess I think I've covered all the major bases that I've seen. So, I mean, if anybody listening has any other questions or things they want to know about dining, definitely put it out to us, and we'll be more than happy to answer what we know.
I'd be more than happy to even, again, if people are looking for straight numbers for a family of 5, by all means, I'm willing to share numbers if they need to as well. Because I think sometimes that's really what it comes down to. Honestly, I felt like between the dining plan and paying for my own food, it was about an $800 difference for approximately a week. That was me, though. That was just my eating habits and my family's eating habits.
So, and for myself, going with a family of 3, the difference was only about $150 to $200. So it was a little bit cheaper for the, if we had, and this is also assuming that we had bought everything that we would have bought on the dining plan. So, the reality is that for 3 of us, we don't eat nearly that much food. So it'll probably end up actually being cheaper when we do it in practice. But there's definitely seems the larger the group, there seems to be more and more of a gap.
Especially as also when the kids, as they get older and older. See, that's the other thing that I've noticed. Now having a 13-year-old and 11-year-old, I can pack away more food than I can sometimes. So that definitely changes the way things work as well. Again, we try to do a very big breakfast in the morning, which will be helpful.
And before we move on to Star Wars really quick, I want to mention one thing that I've seen on the DVC groups all over Facebook for the past several weeks that we're not going to get too much into because it doesn't exactly cover DVC and things like that, is the free dining plan that just recently was released that Disney does every year. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on the DVC boards the past couple weeks, does DVC get free dining? The answer is no. So
I think Trevor mentioned that in the beginning as well, but it's definitely worth mentioning at least 4 or 5 times at this point.
And something else to maybe mention is the free dining that they put out is really not actually free when you look at that versus like the room discounts and whatnot. So people like it because it's a package, but that's really all it is. It's just a package.
And listen, sometimes for certain people, packages are easy. And some people like easy. And I can fully appreciate easy. Yeah, I can definitely get that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It can be an easy thing, but, you're paying. The difference is, most people don't realize when they're booking Disney World packages, they're paying a discounted rate for their room. When you're talking about free dining, you're paying the rack rate for the room. So if you actually work it out, sometimes you'll end up actually spending more money with the quote free dining plan than you would spend otherwise. So, but it depends on individual situations, depends on when you're going, how many people are there. So it can be a good deal. It just isn't always a good deal.
Yeah, and I guess the way to look at it is to what you're saying is you can either have easy or you can have cheap. You're never going to get both.
I always vote cheap. I always vote cheap.
I vote cheap too.
Yeah,
I vote cheap too.
All right, so we talked a lot about dining. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Trevor, before we move on to everybody's favorite topic, and that is Star Wars?
Let's talk Star Wars.
And we're going to try to limit this, everybody. We are going to probably touch on base on this in multiple episodes.
Yeah, this is a many episode topic because there is a lot to talk about. But a few weeks ago, Star Wars convention happened in Orlando. And when that happened, a lot of the guys that are working on, guys and gals, I should say, but the main project manager that is, I should say Imagineer, I apologize for not using proper Disney parlance, but, the main Imagineer came out and gave out all sorts of information that hasn't been heard before. And some really, really, really interesting stuff that it seems like Disney's going to be bringing immersion to a whole new level. I mean, you guys have read up about this too, I'm assuming.
Oh, yes.
So,
the first question is, Tom, why are we not there? I mean, are we going next year? Right? I mean, that's the other thing.
I want to be there. So so some of the details, in case you guys didn't see it. Anybody listening, what they released, and this is pretty vague, right? But it's still pretty instructive of what they're going to be doing. So it's where you're not just going to be at Star Wars Land. You're going to be immersed in this location. It seems like they were kind of hinting to that this, at first when Disney announced this, people were like, well, why didn't they make it one of the lands from the movies? Why did they make it like a generic trading outpost? Although they kind of were hinting, they were making it seem like maybe this location will pop up in a later movie. Did you guys get that impression? I don't know if you saw that, but it kind of made it seem like maybe it will be a location later on. But...
yeah, and I mean, in true Disney sense, is that they love to tie the movie to the park as much as they can, right? So
exactly. Well, and so what I found really interesting about this is that the decisions that you make in this land will you'll create a reputation as you go through the park. So, when you ride the Millennium Falcon ride, right, where you're like, piloting it, right? You're based on what you do in that ride can affect what happens to you later on in the park. Maybe when you're eating dinner, somebody could come up to you and give you like a side mission of some sort to help the rebels out, or maybe you choose the other side and you can help out with that. It's a whole interesting thing, and I'm still not entirely sure how they're going to accomplish this.
Well, I guess my first thought when I was reading about that was, obviously magic bands, I think, are going to play into this quite heavily, because that's their way of tracking you.
Exactly.
They can see where you are anywhere in the park. They can line up particular events with what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, that'll definitely take it to the next level. And then, it's hard to say how complex they're going to get with this as well, right? Like it could be, just one thing that happens, or it could be, like you said, throughout the whole week, there's like a couple of days that there's like a story that builds around you, which would be very interesting.
But see, the question is is it going to include everybody? Because again, we're going to get all those people, all the naysayers, right, that it doesn't happen to them, that their kid doesn't get picked to do, lightsaber training, or their kid doesn't. How are they going to approach it in that regard, where everyone feels like they're a part of it rather than just a few people here and there?
That is interesting because, you are going to have a ton of people walking around, right? So
yeah, have you ever been to one of those lightsaber things when a kid doesn't get picked? Mm-hmm. It's like a disaster.
That's understandable. And I guess, because what I think is interesting about the whole idea of like creating a reputation as you go along, right? You're right. Is it going to be everybody involved with it, or is it... I would think that it's going to be everybody, right?
Well, that would be good if it was something like you said, where you get on a ride and you're already predispositioned to what's going to happen from regards to, like, even the Star Wars ride. Let's just say that, your magic band clicks you in, and, there's... how many people are on a Star Wars ride? Let's see how nerdy actually either one of you are. Does anybody know?
How many people are on Star Wars what?
On the Star Wars ride at once. No, on the current one, Star Tours.
Oh, man.
All right, well, let's just say it's 30. I don't know. Someone will correct us, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's probably
so 30. Let's just say it's 30.
I'm doing fast math in my head.
But
thinking of all the rows and how many rows each person has.
But let's say that we all step on with a reputation, and whoever has the bigger reputation wins that ride, and that's what the ride is about, right? That would be a way that you could actually involve everybody. So you have, 25 rebels and 5, dark side. Well, that ride is going to be, go down the rebel path. Something along those lines.
That's actually, that's a good point. So, does that have consequences when you go on Star Tours? Like maybe the person who has the best reputation as being part of the resistance gets to be the person that they pick out on the screen. That's the rebel person or maybe, anything you do has, like you said, maybe half the people in the room are resistance people and the other half aren't. So maybe the story goes that way based on that.
Yeah, the only thing that I worry about with things like that is that we worry about with everything is that people gaming the system, right? That's the only thing you have to worry about. Let's just say there was a specific way to get a better reputation. And we don't know what that is yet. Someone will hack that system, someone will talk, someone will this, and all of a sudden, that little nuance is not only kind of the imagination and magic of it broken, but people will try to do a certain thing in a certain order, right? It has to be something that's random enough, encompasses everybody, and nothing that you can go specifically out and hack yourself into. And I think that's where it's going to be a little bit difficult for them.
That is interesting because, and I'll just read a couple quotes too from the guy that was mentioning all these things, and he said there's going to be a ton of opportunities to help out and support the resistance. Lots of smugglers and bounty hunters who are looking for a little bit of help and might be willing to offer you a side job. And for those of you who are interested in supporting the First Order, there will be absolutely opportunities for that as well. An experience might begin on board the Millennium Falcon and follow you right out the door of the attraction into a local watering hole. You can essentially build up a reputation in the Star Wars universe.
Will it be Kim Possible-like?
That is a question I don't know the answer to.
Now that would be interesting because I always thought that was something totally underrated. My kids love that. But something like Kim Possible, for all you guys that don't know, it's like, this kind of thing where you go around the park and hit different spots on the park and, do different things. But if they did something like that, where it was very Kim Possible, like where, you kind of knew where you had to go and what you had to do, that might be fun. I don't know. Have you ever done the Kim Possible one, Tom? I mean, Trevor or Tom? I don't know.
No, but so I see where you're going with that, but there's actually something else that I'm thinking of that may play into this. It makes more sense with the way that they're describing it. So in Disneyland about 2 years ago, they had this thing called Legends of Frontierland. And it sounds very similar to Kim Possible. I haven't done any of the Kim Possible or that kind of stuff. But Legends of Frontierland was basically, they put they put Frontierland and Rainbow Ridge against each other. And so when you went into the land, you picked a side and you had to do different tasks for your side. So it wasn't so much that an individual was getting rewarded for doing stuff. It was, if you did stuff to help your side, it would kind of influence if your side won at the end of the day. And then that affected how the rest of the story played out for that day.
That seems kind of cool. That would make sense too, especially if it's something that they were resetting every day.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting idea. See, it's good Trevor goes over there, right? To the place we don't have to go to.
So Trevor, when they were doing that, how did you check up on that? Like what the status of the competition was, or is there any way to do that, or you just didn't? You know what I mean?
They actually had a scoreboard. So when you went into Frontierland, it was all actually done manually, which was pretty impressive. The whole thing was that when you did stuff, you earned bits, or bits was their money, and so you would put that towards helping your side claim different parts of Frontierland. Because the whole way that was set up was, it was like claim jumpers claiming different areas of the land and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you could actually see the progress as you went through the day. And I would expect that, next level is in Star Wars. They've got your magic bands, you've got probably a phone app or something like that, and you could actually watch in real time as, the Resistance or the First Order is pushing one way or the other.
That's what my assumption will be. There will be some sort of accompanying app to this, whether it's through, I almost feel like there'll have to be a separate app, because I almost feel like it ruins the immersion if you're just doing it through the My Disney Experience app, right? Because it's because then you're reminding yourself you're at Disney. You're supposed to be lose ourselves in these things, right? So I almost feel like they'll have a separate interactive app for this. And in my mind, I guess I'm thinking to myself okay, so let's say I decide to be part of the First Order and I'm hanging out at the bar there, and someone comes up to me and calls me scum or something because I'm First Order and I'm in a rebel bar. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of that kind of fun stuff that they can do with this.
I don't see that. I mean, think about the amount of work that you're talking about with that, and the singularity of the person. I just don't think Disney thinks that granular. I think what Trevor kind of said seems like it's more appropriate to how Disney runs business.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. I just, based on what they're saying, I mean, the quote from the one Imagineer said there could be somebody looking for you, like a bounty hunter looking for you, that people could make comments to you at the bar or offer you. It seems like they are going to try to get granular with it. I just don't. I don't know how they're going to do it.
So the interesting thing about the Frontierland thing was that because of the fact of picking sides, it did change how people reacted to you. And that actually did seem like enough, because all the cast members that were involved in it, they were very playing it up, and if you were on their side, they were very willing to help you and to, get involved with you. Yeah. But then if you weren't on their side, it was kind of okay, go away.
So wait, now, so what happened when you won for the day?
It it didn't really amount to anything other than your side claimed Frontierland. So it wasn't like a big thing. It was just it's just how it played out. It was just
it's like a pride thing.
Yeah.
So you know what I find interesting is I always just think about these things as, everyone wants to win, right? So I could see if something like this happened to Star Wars, just the amount of people that would try to influence, right? Like you could see people going just to be like, hey, the dark side's won 10 days in a row. What's the most we've ever won all days in a row? Like it could turn into something pretty fun. I think people would take it pretty serious.
And I guess the thing about that too, and even in Disneyland, is that if you've got somebody who is there every day trying to or if you've got enough people there that are trying to influence the system, I mean, it's an awful lot of work for very little gain, I guess.
Because you're not winning anything at the end, right?
Wait, Trevor lives in Canada, right? That's why he doesn't understand? Because
it's nice up there? Is that what you're saying?
That's kind of what I'm saying.
I don't know. I mean, Edmonton's in the Stanley Cup playoffs, so...
Well, and I guess, I'm thinking about it too. I think you're right. I think that does make it a lot of fun, but I think what, if it changes your ride experience, right? Like you're saying, like, maybe the first day that I'm there, I decide I walk in and I want to be, I want to be dark side. I want to be, bad, right? And then I go on the Millennium Falcon ride and it's like, it's a whole different experience, right? Maybe there's different missions I'm doing because I made that decision, earlier in the day. Or maybe, I change it up during the day and I decide that I'm going to be, part of the Rebels. And then, I go on the other Disney ride, which we've heard very little details about, and maybe that changes my whole ride experience. And then it kind of
that would be cool. Yeah.
That would be so cool, right? And it seems like that's what they're going for because, and I mean that increases the rideability. It's the same reason why you can ride Star Tours 20 times in a row, and it's different every time. And that's I think that's a great thing when you can do that because it increases the ride the re-rideability, and it makes you want to keep going back to try different things and see how this world reacts to what you're doing, and even like with, and we were going to talk about this a little bit too. I think we brought this up briefly on the last podcast too, is about the patent that they just did for the robots, the standing robots, yes. For like meet and greet things. That's got to factor into this, right?
Well, I think that's going to be something that factors heavily into it, right? Because again, from their business sense, you can have these robots out here and they can react to you, like Trevor was saying, based on your magic band and based on these decisions. That's kind of an easy way to immerse you without having them, have to, A, kind of spend a lot of money on it, and B, spend a lot of manpower on it, right? It's an easier way to give you a personalized experience is kind of what I'm going for. So I could see that playing heavily into something like this.
Yeah, and one of the things they were talking about is they created an animatronic for the kitchen of one of the restaurants that you're going to be able to see, where he's going to be doing crazy stuff in the background, and I guess something's going to happen if you order the special, like some sort of crazy thing's going to happen if you order the special.
This is like at what's it called, Trader Sam's, right? When certain drinks get.
Is he talking about that crazy place again, or is this in the real Disneyland? Where's Trader Sam's? I don't even know what that is.
Oh,
you don't know what Trader Sam's?
No, what's Trader Sam's?
Trader Sam's.
I feel like I've been going longer than both of you, and I don't know half of these things. It's kind of hurting my feelings at this point.
So Trader Sam's exists in Disneyland at the Disneyland Hotel, but it's also at the Polynesian in Disney World.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's a bar. So obviously, having kids, you're not hanging out in the bar.
Okay, I feel better now. I'm starting to feel better. Okay.
But yeah, the thing that they have about it is that there's different drinks that you order, and when you order the drinks and they bring it out, the room has different effects that go on in it. So
it comes alive.
Yeah, like a volcano will go off or stuff like that. So
okay.
Or like the waiter, and when we went there, like the waiter would like put on like a different costume and bring it out. Like there was like a zombie drink, and he would come out with like an eye like falling out. And it's super. Next time you go, you have to go. It's a super super tiny little bar at the Polynesian. It's very.
I was
small
just there
room.
Again. I feel bad. I was just there.
Next time you go,
I didn't get the French toast. I didn't get this. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing there.
Truthfully, though. It's hard to find though. Like I swear to you, the first time I knew where it was and I couldn't find it. It's like it's barely marked anywhere. It's kind of a little hole in the wall, but it is a really really fun little bar. But you're right. I think that's kind of how it's going to be.
Yeah,
where
don't be like me. Don't be like me. Find out about what you're going to do because obviously I miss out on everything.
But that's why you have the podcast now, because we can
Oh,
educate you
now
about these
now
things.
I do. The past 10 years, now all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, it does seem like it's going to be like that, where it's going to be interactive, and there's going to, based on what you order, different things are going to happen. And they were talking too about how all the people that even work in Star Wars Land are going to be they're going to be in costume, they're going to be aliens, they're going to be not just normal human beings. Which I still, again, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to pull that off.
Wait, so there's no more Star Wars weekends anymore, right? Or is there?
There isn't Disneyland. They're still doing stuff, I think,
It's
aren't
still
they?
Season of the Force, yeah.
Okay.
That's still going on until like June.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think they might have temporarily stopped it, but I mean, there is enough Star Wars stuff going on at Hollywood Studios right now to. I mean, I feel like it's a perpetual Star Wars weekend.
Now, the convention itself, though, that was in Orlando, that's something that just recently moved outside of Disney, or was that always outside of Disney?
I believe it was always outside of Disney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was, they had Imagineers there. I know that.
But is it a Disney-based thing? Or is it just a Star Wars-based thing?
It was a Star Wars thing, and I believe it actually predates before Disney acquired,
that's what I
acquired
figured.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of history about the actual convention itself, but it seems like
Well, when you go next year for the podcast, you'll know all about it.
So I can report from there. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Reporting live from the Disney convention for Star Wars.
But there's all sorts of videos online of the panels and stuff like that, and all the different things that they're talking about with Disney, with the Star Wars Land that's coming up, and it seems really, really interesting. And there's a lot of rumors about that second dark ride that they're talking about. There were some even some rumors going on that it was going to be a multi-level experience where at some point you actually get out of your ride vehicle and start running and things like that. And
oh, stop. There's no way.
I swear, no, I swear that's what they're saying.
Could you imagine that? Someone's going to trip and what will happen.
Unless you have a cast member.
And stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I thought that was crazy too. But then there was something, there was going to be like hundreds of stormtrooper animatronics like going after.
Oh, that would be. See, that's what I'm waiting for. Like, that's the reason why I like the Disney weekends. Like, there was just a lot of stormtroopers. I like a lot of stormtroopers. You put a lot of stormtroopers out there, that's a win for me.
No, you and my son would get along.
Yeah.
Well. He loves stormtroopers.
I don't know if that makes me feel good or bad. Do I act that age or not? But yes.
No, it's just I mean, if you're talking, Rebels versus First
yes,
Order,
it was actually.
I love Chewie, so.
Oh, it was actually very interesting. Like when we were there last time, because they had the. What is the one, the Phantasma, the Captain Phantasma? Yeah, no, Captain Phantasma. What's her name?
Phasma.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where she comes out and leads all the stormtroopers out,
yeah.
that special parade. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, it's actually really
like that.
cool. I was
They get up in your face. That's the best part about it. Like if you stand on if you're the first people there, they will get in your face
and start talking to you, and they talk to you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I was actually really impressed when the last time I went to Disney, when they first started doing all that Star Wars stuff, because they'll just be stormtroopers just wandering around too, and they'll just come up to you and start questioning you.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe they'd just be walking around. I didn't think they'd be able to talk to me, but they actually will come up to you and start talking to you in that stormtrooper, sound voice thing that they have. And it's very cool.
So the funny thing is, so when we were in Disneyland last year, my wife was trying to get a picture of the stormtroopers, and we ended up on Star Tours. Me and my son were, and she wanted all of us to get a picture with them, but she was just going to settle for getting a picture of the stormtroopers. She actually stopped two of them, and I guess they got up in her face because she ran out in front of them, and she was like, "Stop!" And these two stormtroopers were like ready to shoot her.
Your wife's got guts. She's got guts.
Yeah.
Well, I always found that the hardest one to get is the Jawas. So that was the one that's inside now. The Jawa, where you can trade stuff with the Jawa, which is actually awesome too.
Oh, I didn't know
they
you
look
could
for
do that.
shiny bits or something.
Yes,
I'm
that's
actually
awesome.
excited for the new BB-8 meet and greet that they're doing at the Star Wars launch bay for this coming up. They just launched it a couple weeks ago, and so you'll be able to meet BB-8, and BB-8 moves around. He's not on the floor moving, because as some famous scientists have said, he probably wouldn't have very good traction and be able to go like he did in the movie in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think he's like sitting on a box or something and kind of moving around. But it's like, yeah, I want to meet BB-8. Like, it sounds weird that you'd want to do that, but I totally do.
Well, it's like R2 before that, right? You know, anytime you saw an R2, you were like, oh my God, that's amazing, right?
And why don't I have a picture with him? And if I do, I'm going to share it with all my friends. I might even get it blown up and made a poster of it. You know, I don't know.
Well, and it's funny because even when I got a picture of a Chewie last time, I was really impressed because not only was the Chewie costume like, you know, perfect, but like, I mean, the mouth was moving. You know, you could, all the stuff that you like. I just assumed it was good. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was the best character greeting I've been to because it was real.
That was a good one. Yeah,
it was a really good one. I didn't meet Kylo Ren, but we did the Chewie
we
one.
did Kylo Ren. Yeah,
but it was great. And here's a question for you guys. So with the new Star Wars land, when you go in, what do you pick first? Are you going to pick First Order? Or are you going to pick Resistance?
Resistance, no question.
I don't know. I think maybe First Order.
I think I'd do both, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would obviously do both. So, but that's interesting. I'm hoping that they give us some sort of experience. What would you say the best character interaction experience is that you've ever had? I think it's Gaston. I think that dude is the funniest dude ever.
I've never done that one, but I always see the videos.
They are hysterical. I mean, he, with my daughter and, you know, our friends that we went with, it's probably one of the funniest things ever at Disney. And I think that if they could bring something like that to Star Wars, something of that level, because, I mean, like you said, you've seen videos, right? Why have you seen videos? Because they're hysterical, right? I think that would be great.
It's brilliant viral marketing on the part of Disney, by the way.
Oh, those are the best. Those are the best, I have to say. So I guess the next thing is this hotel, because I want to make sure we talk about the hotel, because when they open this up, I don't care if it's $2,000 per person. I'm there. It doesn't matter. Well, I hate to tell Disney that, but it doesn't matter. I'm going.
You know what I find interesting that they even did a survey in the first place, because I feel like as soon as that article came out, that every single person that saw it was posting like the meme, like, take my money. Like, you know, like that's literally like, why even ask? You know, people would throw any amount of money to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as long as it was done right. And I mean, knowing Disney.
I don't think they do too many things too wrong, right? Like, they're usually pretty good.
They've had a few flubs in the past.
But I'd almost be okay paying for a flub, because you know what? A flub is going to be interesting. If nothing else, it's going to be interesting before they change it. That's for sure.
So maybe we should explain this before we get too deep in this conversation, what this actually is, what we're talking about, right? So a rumor came out that Disney is doing surveys currently, and from, you know, my years of tracking what Disney does, when they're putting a survey out, that means they're pretty late in the development process, right? Usually, and what's odd to me, I thought this was weird, and I don't know if you guys find this odd, but I thought it was really weird they're using a third-party survey company to do this. Because Disney's got They have a very large survey division of the company. I mean, every time you've gone to Disney World, they will ask you for. I've gotten asked for surveys every time I'm there. I'm just kind of surprised they're doing it outside of that. But see, a third-party
company isn't invested, right? If you really want somebody to do a survey that's true, honest to goodness, you know, not slanted one way or the other, that's the best way to do it.
And to be fair, when Walt was scoping out Florida for Walt Disney World, he had a bunch of other quote-unquote companies that were doing the work for him.
The shell companies.
Yeah.
Which if you guys haven't looked up at the windows before on Main Street in Walt Disney World, all of the names of the shell companies are up on the windows. So look up when you're walking down Main Street next time. But so what the survey said was, it was asking people if they would be interested in a 2-day luxury hotel experience where you are completely and totally immersed in Star Wars. So the idea being, everybody has the same check-in time. Everyone has the same checkout time. You get there. You are staying on a ship. They didn't really specify, I don't think, that if it was a specific ship. Like, so it's not necessarily like the Millennium Falcon or something or anything like that.
I don't know if they would necessarily do that, right?
Because then that impacts, ship, right?
Yeah, it impacts the canon at that point, right?
Exactly.
You can't do that.
Yeah. So a ship of some sort where you're literally immersed in that ship. You're there, you're staying there, your room looks like you're staying in a ship. They're talking about robot butlers. They're talking about, you know, you're walking around and some stormtroopers might just accost you, like, while you're on the ship. Like, missions, dinner shows included in this. They're talking about, the thought was $900 or $1,000 per person for the 2-day experience. But
take my money. I think that's cheap. I think that's too cheap.
That's pretty low for an all-inclusive for 2 days, I think.
Five
For that
people,
kind of experience?
Five
Yeah.
people, $5,000, 2 days. That's about a Disney cruise, right? No, I jest.
But and the idea of this is full immersion. So you're doing dinner shows. You get admission to Star Wars Land. My question, and the actual hotel would be attached to Star Wars Land. So I wonder if you'll be able to wander outside of that with these tickets. Like if it does include, I mean, but I don't even know how they track.
I wonder
that.
if Star Wars Land is open late at night specifically just for these people once a week or once every 2 days, right? Because it has to be once every 2 days.
Yeah.
And I think they could probably pull that off.
That would
be
I didn't even
interesting.
think about that. That makes sense. So you really have it exclusive because then at night they could do like extra
Special events.
Yeah, like a special event where like it's like we were kind of comparing it before to like it's almost like a murder mystery dinner or something like that where there's missions that happen and you got to figure out who is doing what, or there's so many possibilities with this.
Or even
adult Jedi training.
Adult Jedi, because people want to do it. So
yeah,
that they would want to do it. Or even one of those what are those puzzle rooms called? Right,
an escape room.
Escape room. Star Wars escape room.
Think about that.
Didn't think about that.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy.
I love escape rooms too.
Yeah.
Trevor, I just imagined you in your bedroom when no one's home with a lightsaber going.
I do that when my son's in the room. I don't know what you're talking about.
So let's think, right? Realistically, what would you really pay if it had? All right, so let's put it out
What's
there.
The
so
maximum?
it gives you a murder mystery. It gives you 1 night of Star Wars Land exclusive. Gives you all your food. What would you realistically pay? What is your top end of paying? I think I don't know. I think I might actually say $1,500 per person I would pay $1,500 per person to do that. Even with 5 people, I still think I would do it because, again, I could relate it to a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I think that has to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I think if they're going to do it so well that it is, I'm going to go once, and I'm going to pay a lot of money to do it, but I'm going to come away like, wow. Don't cheapen it down so that it's costing me, I hate to say this, it's cheap, right? But let's just say it's $900, and then they can't do everything they want to do. I'd rather pay more to do more.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you there because this is either going to be one of those things that if it's done well, I know you say it's a once in a lifetime, but honestly, that might be something I look at once every couple of years, assuming that they update or change it or whatever. But if it's, too cheap that, I feel like I spent a bunch of money and I came out of it going, well, I mean, I could have just gone to Disney World proper and gotten as satisfactory an experience, then I probably won't go back and ever do it again.
Well, here's a question too. You're totally right. Here's the question too. How much immersion do you want? Like, so I almost feel like they should offer 2 versions of it. They should offer like an adult only version that like gets really crazy. And maybe like one with kid. You know what I mean? Like, do you want like at 10 o'clock at night stormtroopers pounding on your door and like dragging one of you out of the room? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you want something crazy like that to happen, or do you want?
I think it's got to be kid friendly for me. It's got to be kid friendly for me.
There's no way they could sell it as an adult only thing.
I'm saying they alternate. They have a kid version 1 week and you know what I mean? Like every 2 days they change it.
I think what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be people that bring their 2-year-old kids and Darth Maul is going to scare the you-know-what out of them. I think it's going to be somewhere at that level where it's going to be not adult, but it's going to be, hey, maybe, it's, this ride can become dark and scary, right? Like Snow White, like maybe you don't want to bring your kid. I think it may be something like that. Or if they're going to do that, you just do it at different levels of time frame, right? So you say, okay, well, after 10 o'clock, something may happen, right? But all the kids are kind of gone to bed. I think they do that a lot at, what I kind of equate that to is when we go to Busch Gardens. Again, we go everywhere, right? So I love all amusement parks. Maybe not equally, but I love them all. When we go to Busch Gardens, you go to Halloween, right? So what happens there is before 6 o'clock, everything's, kind of kid-friendly. There's maybe some people walking around that are semi-scary. But then at 6 o'clock, that's the cutoff. And all bets are off, and it gets a little crazy. I could see something like that happening where people either leave the area or, go to bed, or there's a section of it that like it kind of does something like that where, hey, after 6, 7, 8, whatever number you take that, it's not adult. Like, I mean, again, I would, I don't know what we consider adult, like someone getting lightsabered and their head falling off. I don't know, but
that's a little too adult for
that's
most
a little
adults.
too adult. Yeah. But I think that maybe, they might do something like that. Like maybe there's something that happens at the, bar that happens a little bit later in the evening. I don't know. I could see the bar getting crazy though. Like I could see like real like bouncers needing to be there because people will take it too far. People will take it too far.
I've seen people describe it as like, I don't know if you've watched the HBO series Westworld, where it's like everybody, it's like Westworld for Star Wars. That's pretty much what it seems like it's going to be, where you're just completely immersed in this world.
If it was Westworld for Star Wars, I would be paying. I could pay $50,000 and I'd be quite happy with that. If we're going that route, it's a different ball game, and there's a lot more money that we could put together for that.
Yeah.
So. As we relate back to DVC, so we don't lose, I don't want anyone to be able to use points. As a DVC member, I don't want you to be able to use points.
Interesting.
Right then and there. I'm going to call it right there because I don't want to have to worry about a booking window. This is again. While Trevor has a much better job than I do, and he doesn't consider this a once in a lifetime experience. I'm going to call this a once in a lifetime experience just for regular old salary people, and I don't want people to be able to come in on DVC points. As a DVC member, I think it should be something that's a little bit more special, limited a little bit more, and things like that. That's me.
I honestly agree with you very much on that.
Well, and in my mind, too, if they did it, they would probably be prohibitive, like kind of like the cruises are with points, where it's a lot of points to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, people that do cruises with points, we all know, are just not getting
attention.
The best value. Yes. It's funny, since we're going on this cruise, there's all these Facebook groups for whatever cruise you go on, and I see somebody complaining about it. Like, hey, the last cruise I used points and that. I mean, again, how many people have said, you don't ever use your points. You sell them, whatever you want to do, but you don't ever use points.
Yep.
Yeah, never. So I think we all agree in that, unless Tom thinks otherwise.
I don't. And truthfully, if they go through with this, I don't see them offering it that way. I just don't see that happening. I did want to mention one more thing, too, that I find interesting. Kind of what Trevor was talking about earlier is the adult lightsaber training. Disney kind of quietly, well, not quietly, it did hit the news, a little while back filed a patent for real-life lightsabers. Now, it's not like, you could actually hit somebody with it and it would hurt them, but it's simulated real-life lightsabers. And I have to believe that this is going to somehow factor into that and into Star Wars Land and maybe even into the rides that are in Star Wars
what
Land.
It's going to be like? Again, it's going to be like the Harry Potter wands at Universal. So when you're at Universal, you can buy 2 different types of Harry Potter wand, right? You buy the one that's got no RFID in it or infrared, transmitter, and one that does. And if you have the one that does, you can actually walk around Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade and perform, air quotes, magic, right, on different things going on. And it's awesome, right? I think that's one thing that they've done that I think that, Disney would be smart to copy. And I think it's going to be something similar to that is kind of how I envision it.
The thing about the wands is that they're really no different than like a magic band at this point, right?
Yeah, probably.
So
it's pretty much the same technology, right? I mean,
what I'm looking at with this lightsaber thing is that it's so magic bands are just an area RFID. So you just have to be in the area and things react. This is an actual targeted system. What it looks like.
Well, the wands you actually have to perform, so again, if you're trying to do something, you have to move the wand in a specific way to get the things to interact with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what they do is they have cast members out there because, as we all know, so if you're supposed to make a cross with it, right? There's people that just can't do it or don't know how to do it or, need help doing it. So there's cast members there that kind of help them through it. But no, it's not just a walk into the area and it interacts. You have to perform something with the wand to make these, things come to life and stuff like that.
Well, and it seems like in this patent that they filed that it has to be very specific conditions for this real lightsaber quote technology to work properly, right? So in order to see the laser, there has to be some sort of mist or smoke going on so you can see it actually happen. And if you've ever seen a laser show, there's always some sort of mist or smoke going on so you can see the lasers, and it seems like that's kind of this situation. So I almost wonder if they're either going to use that technology specifically just for one of the rides, or if it's going to be in a training situation, or I feel like there's all sorts of things they could do with it. But it does seem like it has to be in kind of specific environmental conditions for it to work properly.
Yeah, I guess the way I'm reading through the link you sent, Tom, and all I can think of is Luke with the training sphere. And
I think it should zap you if you miss too. I think you should get like a little shock.
You can
well,
that's real immersion right there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It says they're also going to provide the audience with vests that have haptic feedback built into them. So yeah, maybe on some level.
It's like laser tag.
Again, I just that becomes just so cost prohibitive, right? Vests for people. Could you imagine? Like that's the thing. I don't ever see Disney, going out of their way. Like they're going to try to limit their, monetary exposure. And I think that, vests to me in my head already, I mean, you got to figure they're probably $1,000 a piece. I mean, people are going to steel break, whatever, you know what I mean? I just don't see that too often. You know what I mean? Like,
unless they're doing it in a limited scope, like a training or something like that, where it's limited to maybe, a couple hundred people a day.
Or
they could probably handle that
experience.
An upcharge, that would be interesting. I'm like, again, I'm not upset about upcharges. I really am not. I know that a lot of people are not so much. I'm okay with that. If I want to do it, I'll do it. If I don't, then I'm not paying anymore, and I'm okay with that too. Sometimes it's more fun just to watch other people do it. I'm okay with that too. Right? Yeah. If there's going to be some sort of thing like that that's an upcharge, I still want to watch it, right? Still provide me the ability to interact with viewing of this. That's kind of like what I see. You know how they brought the people up for, Indiana Jones, and like, great. I didn't get to be, I wasn't one of those people, but at least I get to watch it, and that was fine. Okay, by me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I'm excited about this idea. What do you guys think the chances of this going to happen? Like, if you had to put, 1 to 10, it's not going to happen. Or I was very wrong about the gondolas, so maybe I should be,
I feel like I was definitely wrong about the gondolas too, and I'm kind of, again, like I said, hurt my feelings a little bit.
I was so wrong about the gondolas, so maybe my guess on
we should just listen to Trevor. Whatever Trevor thinks we're going with.
Well, no. I just read this stuff and I put my own opinion on it, and I just happen to get lucky that time.
So are we talking about the gondolas at all this time?
It's the next topic we have on the board here, and if we can talk about it briefly, some transportation news came out too. And did anybody else want to mention anything else about the proposed luxury hotel? And I'm sure
just give me a price. That's all I want to know. Give me a price.
Damon wants to know the price, when it's opening, and when he can book.
Yeah,
that's all Damon.
I'll book now. I'll book if it's open in 3 years from now, and they can hold my money until then. That's fine too. Just let me know.
I do wonder if they'll shoot to try to have it open by the same time as Star Wars Land, or if it's a thing that will come later.
There's so many movies coming out, so many, that I don't think it matters anymore. I think we're not living for these big, opening events anymore. We're living that life. So I don't think it really matters. I think they'll open it when they're ready. That's kind of how I view these things now.
Yeah, I'm sure Disney has a larger plan of their budget, and this... honestly, I'm betting that if we see anything of this, it probably won't be until at least 2020.
That's probably a good guess.
Yeah,
I would say so. Well, and since you brought up so nobody else has anything else they want to say about the luxury hotel? Any other thoughts?
Nope,
I'm good.
All right, so transportation. This is always a fun topic. We promised last week that we were going to talk this week about the new Uber system. There hasn't been a whole lot of news that has come out about that.
But these people are going to be Disney people driving?
Yes.
And why do I want this? I don't know why I need this. Why do I need this again?
So you don't have to wait for a bus. It's kind of...
So if I'm a poor planner... that's what I'm asking.
Well, I look at it as more like, okay, it's right after Fantasmic, and then the Star Wars show goes, and the park's closing, and you have that crazy rush to the buses where you're like 3 buses go by before you get on one. I'm thinking of it that way, or like almost like an extension or the replacement to the express bus service they're doing right now.
Because that's not guaranteed forever, right?
Well, no, it's kind of a temporary thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe temporary, right? We don't know. It could stay.
It could.
Okay. So this Uber thing, to me, I just don't see it. I mean, I just don't. I don't know what I would use it for. I mean, unless I have poor planning, I don't get it. That's just me. I don't get it.
So here's my spin on it, I guess. In our trip in September, we're going down we're not renting a car. So we're going down there. We're using the Magical Express. That works. All their bus systems and everything work for us, except for the one day when we want to get from our hotel at the Polynesian to Hoop-de-Doo in Wilderness Lodge. Usually that would mean having to get on the monorail or get on, like, go to the transportation center.
Yep.
Yeah, and then figure out a bus to get over to Wilderness Lodge.
Okay.
So for just that one particular instance, I'm not going to rent a car for the whole week, but I also don't want to do multiple transfers to get over there. So yeah, I would use Uber.
So Trevor just hates the transportation center. Is that what you're telling me?
No,
I love the transportation center.
But I don't want to go the roundabout route.
Well, you know what it is? So I have a vested interest.
I
have a vested interest in the transportation center because I'm one of those people that owns one of those stones at the transportation center. Right? So, yeah.
So you got reason to be there, yes.
Yeah, so when my grandfather passed away, we got a stone for him there, right? And that was prior to what they're doing at Epcot, right? So at Epcot now you can buy the little pictures on the wall, but they don't last forever, right? There was only there's a time frame on them because when Disney does something, right, they realize, oh man, maybe we shouldn't have done it that way. So when we got the stones, in theory, they were forever, right? Now, I don't think they'll replace them though. So it's really until stone wears away. Them. Yes, or something like that. But because, we have that, we always make it a point to go transportation center a few times during the trip. So maybe that's why I don't think about this system. I don't mind the transportation center. I'm never in that much of a rush because, again, for us, right, being DVC members, I'm not rushing to anything anymore. Maybe the first couple years I was, but because we've been there every year, sometimes even more than once a year, I try not to rush anymore. And maybe that's what changes some of this for me, personally.
Well, I also think it's different for you and I, Damon, too, because we both drive there, so we do have access to a car. Whereas Trevor...
I would never drive to a park, though. Would you ever drive to a park?
Well, actually, it's funny you say that, because this upcoming trip, I'm going to have to on 2 of my days. So
why?
I've got 2 tours that are scheduled that are 7:30 in the morning. I have to be there by 7:30. Now, I believe the bus will be available in time, but both these tours, when I booked them, they warned me, listen, the buses probably won't be running, and you need to get yourself there.
Well, that's funny. I need to take that back because you're right, because when we did the surfing at Typhoon Lagoon at 6:30 in the morning, yeah, we did have to drive. You're right.
Yeah, and that's I think it'll be good for that, and I from what I've heard, a lot of people seemingly have been skipping the bus transportation system in general lately and been using just regular Uber. So I almost feel like this is Disney's response to that is, hey, well,
And I'd rather have someone that, that I know Disney has vetted. There's no doubt about that. I'm much happier with that.
You'd rather have a cast member do it than random
Joe
guy,
Blow.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I guess when I read about it as well, they're trying to, put their Disney spin on it, which is that, an Uber driver doesn't necessarily know about the area that they're driving around. They just take you to a destination, where this Uber or this Disney Uber service is supposed to be very knowledgeable people that can tell you about where you're going to, or if you've got questions about a particular resort, like things outside of the parks, they can give you that information. So
they're like a concierge almost while they're driving you around, where it's, hey,
they'll be
where's a good place to eat
talk
lunch, where's a good place to eat lunch in Magic Kingdom where we're going right now, and they'll, they can tell you,
And I think even if you don't ask questions, I think they'll be able to kind of talk you through just whatever, I think they'll be a lot more interesting than just, a regular Uber system. Well, I could see that.
Yeah. And I guess a lot of it is convenience too. It's a matter of, we all know, we've all been in the bus situation where, it's the end of the day and we're, our feet are tired and we just want to get back to the hotel. And, it's at some point, I mean, there have been some nights where I'm like, I'd pay any amount to get back to the hotel right now, and I'm sure we've all been there with those long trips. And, I think that's probably what it's going to be more for than anything is it, kind of like you were talking about. It's like an upcharge experience in a way, where it's like, I want to pay extra to have my own way to get back to my hotel. Now, I wonder, is Disney going to create their own Uber-like app, or is it going to be through my Disney experience, or they could probably
I think everything will be in the experience. I don't think there's ever going to be another app. I think everything will exist under there because, I mean, the way apps work, I could have a button at the top level to take me to anything I need to. Like, I don't want more than one app. Give me one app. That's it. That's all I need.
You're probably right. It'll probably just be integrated into my Disney experience.
So the other two things are the driverless buses, right? We have them. I don't even know if there's enough information about that to necessarily talk about. But the gondolas, now that Trevor's been obviously right on the nose with these, he obviously knows exactly what's going on with the system. So Trevor, is this a pilot for a larger system? What can you tell us?
Well,
he's our Disney insider.
Yeah, apparently. So I honestly think it is just based on the patterns that I've observed with Disney, and with like even going back to our previous conversation about Legends of Frontierland versus the Star Wars stuff, is that they tend to throw this stuff out and see whether it sticks. And I can see with this gondola system that they're going to look at it and go, are people happy with it? Is it moving enough people? And if that's the case, you're going to see more systems around the entire property. And it may actually start to replace bus systems at some point.
Well, because they're limited by the buses for things outside of Disney's control. The one thing that Disney likes is to create that experience and to have control over the whole experience.
Yep.
They don't have control over Route 4, right? Or, they just don't. So, I think this would actually allow them to really just be self-contained at that point.
And truth be told, I think the biggest thing for Disney, too, is these gondolas, way cheaper than maintaining the buses and having people drive them, way cheaper than building more monorail. It's this whole system's going to cost way less than any other transportation option that they're doing. So that was one of the things I read, is that it's going to really, going to be one of those cost-saving things that they're going to do, too, that's going to hopefully move a lot of people that people will like, and also at the same time not cost them that much money to expand it when they're ready to do so. So I do think it is. Now that it's actually happening and confirmed that it's happening through permits and emails, that were released recently, I think it is a pilot for a larger system. That's what Disney tends to do, right? So.
Yep. I agree.
Well, and an article came out about driverless buses. There's not a lot of information about that, but that's something we'll cover on a future podcast when more people, when there's more info out about it, because it's an interesting idea. So,
yeah, it's just the next layer of. It seems that they're amping their.
But see, it's funny though, because we're talking about gondolas and then we're talking about driverless buses. I mean, if the gondolas work? Do we really need? And so we have Uber, gondolas, driverless buses. I mean, something's the odd man out.
Maybe they're just trying everything and seeing what sticks,
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, though. I don't think that we'll have them all. Like, I think eventually.
Maybe Uber's just a stopgap. Right?
Could be.
Something they can set up fairly easily in between, the gondola project and the
technology
driverless buses.
For driverless buses, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is true. That's interesting.
Point.
All right, I'm taking my part now. All right. I'm taking my part.
Because we're at about 120 minutes here, so
yeah,
120.
Okay.
No, an hour and 20 minutes. So we should try to wrap this up soon here. So
I'm gonna make this one quick, but I have 100 points that I have to use by November. Okay, so we're going to Disney in August. It looks like we're gonna do a Saturday, Sunday, Monday overnight, right? So figure somewhere in the August time frame. I don't know what to do. So do I spend under 100 points, right, and lose a few? But okay, you know what? So big, no big deal. What would I do with 5 points here or there anyway? Do I spend over 100 points and then, borrow again from next year? Like, I don't know what I want to do with these 100 points. So I have some thoughts, at least. So we've never been to the new Bay Lake Tower. We're holding off on Beach Club because we are probably going to do that next year. Grand Floridian, too expensive. I mean, I guess I could do a standard view there, 1 bedroom. So again, I have some options because, there's 5 of us. I don't really want to do a studio. It's just, again, it's not even close to the amount of points. If I did a studio, I could probably stay for a friggin' week, right? So there's no point in doing that. So I can either do 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. We've done both. So I kind of, 2 bedroom is nice. I just don't know what I'm doing with these. So like, if you had some options, so I have the point chart up here for me, right? I thought about the club level, but I'd have to do 1 bedroom. That's 96 points. And my guess is that I'm talking August because, as Tom hates to hear me say I'm a procrastinator. He would have already booked this trip 11 months ago. But because I'm only going 3 days and I don't really care, right?
You'll probably be okay with just 3 days.
It's easier to get 3 days. Yeah.
Yes. So do I do Bay Lake Tower? Is it worth it? Well, the Magic 2 bedroom goes for 140. That's just not within this budget. But a standard 2 bedroom is 105. Kind of sounds like it's interesting.
I have to tell you that Bay Lake Tower is great because when we stayed at Bay Lake Tower, which is my home resort, we walk to Magic Kingdom every night, regardless of
Oh,
what
wait,
we
hold
were
on.
doing.
I have a caveat though. So
Okay,
here's the caveat. So the caveat is I'm only going to Animal Kingdom.
For
Yeah.
Pandora, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the caveat. Now
So stay
again,
at KL then. Stay Animal Kingdom Lodge. That's what I
I've
would
just
do.
been there so many times.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem I'm having. It's been there a lot of times, and the numbers kind of are weird, right? Because Animal Kingdom, I can't really hit those numbers. Like I can hit 85 at a 2-bedroom with a standard view, because my guess is Savannah views are gone. I'm going to make that assumption. So a 2-bedroom Animal Kingdom standard is only 85 points. I don't really want to burn 15 points. That doesn't seem very effective.
So what about something totally different like the boardwalk?
Well, see, then that's what's come up recently.
That's a good
is
idea.
that my wife has kind of said, hey, maybe we do the boardwalk. Now, a 2-bedroom boardwalk is 103 with a preferred view, right? Standard view, 89. But why wouldn't I upgrade, right, for 3 extra points?
Sure.
So I'm thinking that's definitely an option. I really wanted to go to Key West, but I can't even spend anywhere near that amount of points at Key West. The only other thing is I could stay at Saratoga Springs, my home resort, for 103 as well. Because, again, I would love to stay at, the Creek or, anywhere at Wilderness Lodge. But, again, I don't think I'm going to hit either one of those. So
I think Boardwalk's a great idea because you're in the general area of Animal Kingdom. You're not right on top of it, but you're not. If you're at a Magic Kingdom resort and you're only going to Animal Kingdom, that's going to be a haul every day. Because when you're
I'm only going one day, though.
Yeah,
I'm only going one day.
Okay, that's
but
still
that's like 20-30 minutes of travel, right?
Easily.
I agree.
Yeah,
and there's Animal Kingdom. You still can't walk to Animal Kingdom, right?
No.
Yeah, see, that's what I would love if there was some sort of,
Yeah, there's no way to do that. But I think if you stay at Boardwalk, the cool thing about that is you have all the other stuff that's going on at Boardwalk. So you have the other days you're not staying, and you can hang out on the Boardwalk, and there's lots of fun stuff you can do without having to go into the parks. And you're also not far from Disney Springs at that point either.
Which, again, we'll probably go to because why wouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly. It's right there.
Mm-hmm. And, that was my thinking, is that of all the resorts, Boardwalk seems like the most interactive outside of, going to the parks. Right?
Okay.
Like
see, I've never even been, so I didn't know.
And all kinds of stuff going on there.
You at least have to go just to go to Ample Hills Creamery there, the ice cream place.
Okay.
Trevor, when you go, you have to go to that place. That place is the best ice cream
I've
ever.
read up on it. I've heard it's really good.
I'm telling you right now, I'm waitlisted at Boardwalk. If we go there if our next trip, if I get my waitlist, I'm going to gain 1,000,000 pounds because I will go there every night. I will just go every night and have ice cream. They do ice cream flights there. I just want to eat all of the ice cream that they have. So,
but you walk up and down the boardwalk while you're eating it, and then it balances out.
That's right. I do.
That sounds good.
We
That
do
sounds
average
like
9 to 10 miles a day at Disney, so we don't feel that bad about all of our gluttonous choices when we're eating. But still.
Okay, so that sounds like a good plan then. That's definitely. And again, at 103 points, I'm borrowing 3 points from next year to do a 2-bedroom, which again, a 2-bedroom preferred view. That sounds really good. Now, what does the preferred view there get you? What am I looking at?
You're getting a lake.
It's over the lagoon, which...
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's really pretty. And the picture that's on our header of our Facebook page is that lagoon.
Okay,
So that's the view you're getting.
The standard view is 89. So again, do I really want to lose 11 points for nothing? No, not really. Again,
I would rather have the nice view of it because, like you said, really what you're going for is you have the one day in the parks, but then you're enjoying the resort. So,
correct.
In my opinion, do it right if you're going to do that.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a good plan. So I guess we're wrapping up here. There's a few things to mention. Our email address, we'd love to hear from everybody. It's welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. Hopefully before the next 2 or 3 episodes, we'll have a website as well. We'd love to, like I said, get some questions from everybody. You can do that either via email or on the Facebook page. The Facebook page is at Welcome Home Podcast. You can also get us on Twitter at Welcome Home Pod and on Instagram, which hopefully... I'm hoping Tom is going to fill up with tons of pictures when he goes. It's a Welcome Home.
Going to be lots of Pandora going on.
That's what I like to hear.
Absolutely. So don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us, obviously if you're listening to us, you found us somewhere, but just for your reference, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, just about any place you can find podcasts. We are available. And just a reminder to our listeners, our favorite disclaimer here, Welcome Home Podcast is entertainment only. We are not employed by Walt Disney Company, and as such, any opinion we express on here are our own. Please consult your DVC representative or the nearest cast member, or call up Disney for more information. You can find me on PrinceCharmingVacations.com for all your Disney vacation planning needs. Damon?
I'm over at bsckids.com. We actually handle a lot of the Disney shows. We do a lot of interviews with the Disney Channel stars, so please come over and check us out over there.
Great places to check us out outside of this. And thank you guys so much for listening to Welcome Home Podcast. We have had a amazing amount of people listen to us so far, and we really appreciate any feedback we've received from you guys. We really are happy that we got some folks listening to us. So join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion, more DVC talk, probably more Star Wars talk, definitely some Pandora talk, especially coming up here in the next couple weeks. There's going to be lots of stuff about Pandora coming out as the press and previews are going out. So if you've enjoyed today's show, we're Tom, Trevor, and Damon. This has been the world famous Welcome Home Podcast. If you did not enjoy today's show, we are Chris, Bob, and Jack, and this has been Disney Addict Support Group Podcast. Hope to see y'all real soon. This is Skipper Albert A. Wall, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC. When we hit a chair, how she can cuddle is no man's affair.